it's really difficult because everyone maybe romanticizes living abroad and like having these new experiences, and yeah, it was great, and like you said, it makes you who you are, but I don't think it's necessarily good for your like mental health or development, like as a child moving around so much and having to start again. In 1 sec. Oh, and if you need any footage of the zines as well. So I was born in Warsaw, which is just outside of Birmingham, and I actually went to school in Birmingham for my like secondary school years. We moved abroad to India when I was about 5 till 7, and we lived in China from when I was 7 till 14, and then we've been back here for 7 years, so we've kind of moved around a lot. And hi, I'm Ria. I'm the creator of Sunburnt Magazine, which is a collaborative magazine for South Asians to contribute to and create a collaborative piece of work. So the first issue of the magazine is called Speak Your Mind, and it's a mental health issue, so kind of highlighting the stigma which South Asians face regarding mental health in the community. The proceeds of the issue went to BEAT, which is the UK's eating disorder charity, so those kind of issues were discussed as well, so eating disorders, depression, anxiety, just all aspects of mental health and how that affects South Asians.
My name is Sadi Sultana. I'm a British Bangladeshi textile designer specialising in surface pattern and design for fashion and interior wear. I was born in Solihull, but my roots are from Bangladesh in Sylhet, a place called Moulazbazar. So my parents both are from Moulazbazar, and they came here early 90s. My dad came here when he was very young. My mum came here actually early 90s, and she got married to my dad, and she came here after getting married to him for a year. She came here and then she had me, and yeah. My granddad was heavily involved in textiles, so when I was a child, I always used to see him like making clothes and little purses just for a hobby, and that really inspires me, and that actually goes into why I do textiles. I think since I was a child, not only the fact that I went back home and kind of experienced that culture, and that's where my art comes from, and you know, kind of a few kind of hints and like a few kind of personality through, like it kind of comes through my culture, and also the way I kind of view design and stuff, like it kind of evolves from my culture, my roots, but it also, my hobby also kind of stems from what I've seen in my childhood, which is kind of closely related to my granddad. And I think when I go back home, obviously, like there's so much nature, you know, and then you come here, and obviously I was born here, but then there's so much construction work around me. So in my art discipline, I do look at nature and architecture, and I fuse them both without realizing. And looking, when I do review my work, like it just shows that it's not just me being so connected back home and like that kind of like those roots I have, but it's also like, you know, my kind of my bringing up here as well, and I think I fuse both of them because they're both equally a part of me.
Yeah, so we were obviously there for 7 years, which is, you know, when we moved back here, it was half my life at that point, so I was 14, and that was all I knew, so it definitely was home for me, or I felt like it was home. And it took a while to adjust to being back in the UK, back in Birmingham, starting a new school and not really knowing where home was, I guess, because we'd moved away from China. It wasn't really home anymore. This was where home was meant to be, and this is where our family is. And I know we've spoken about it before with like currency, so how I used to think in like Chinese RMB or yuan, so like that currency, and then moving over here and adjusting to pounds. And I think maybe that's the moment when you almost feel settled, because for so long I was converting things in my head always. I was like, okay, so like £10 is 100 RMB, and that would help me contextualize the currency and the money, or like the value of money. So it's kind of that like switch, and I don't know when that switch happened, but that was when, I suppose, it sounds like a trivial thing, but that was when I guess I felt settled, and this was home again almost. Well, not necessarily home, but like it becomes more permanent. Like if the place you're living feels permanent when you're not converting that currency anymore, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? To be honest, I feel so detached from that childhood in China. Like I feel almost like it wasn't reality. I think the way that you live there as an expat is so different to being home in your home country that I feel completely detached from that. So I think with the zine, because as well I felt so detached from my South Asian heritage living out there, the zine gave me a way to reconnect with that and almost feel closer to that side of me, because I definitely feel, you know, like when people ask me where I'm from, I say Birmingham. It's the first answer isn't India or Gujarat. So even though I'm South Asian, I don't always feel close to that side of me. So the zine definitely gave me that opportunity to connect with so many other South Asian women and artists, and it gave me that connection to, I guess, like sisterhood and feeling understood and accepted, and it was something I haven't always felt growing up and in environments where I was the minority or there wasn't a lot of South Asian influence. And you lose a lot of that when you're not, you know, surrounded by it. And I suppose in Birmingham, it's such a multicultural, diverse city that you don't miss that connection, because a lot of my friends at school were South Asian, so we were able to relate, and we were able to talk about family and like losing touch with our culture. We were able to like reconnect together. So yeah, it gave me almost, I guess, a feeling of home, because it made me feel like, I guess, whole, because it made me feel understood and accepted, and that I could relate to people, which I haven't always been able to feel.
If you kind of take a step back and you go into the shoes of our parents, they came from a country where there wasn't any future, to be honest. It's still developing. Even though you go back home now, so much is happening. The way the media portrays it, to me, it's a developing country. It's not even a third world country. There's just so much happening. When you go back home, you see the youth actually like making movements. They're actually like, you know, trying to environmentally kind of push things as well in back home in Bangladesh when you go. I'm going this year, but then the kind of like people like us who are here, our parents came here, they knew that, you know what, our future is our kids. So it's not so much that they kind of went stale and they stayed in one position. They were like, that's it, we've got like an earning, that's it, we've got a house. No, they kind of came here, they grafted, and because it's not easy, the way, you know, coming from a different country to here where it's a different language, and then you're adapting to that. The culture is so different, the way people dress is different, you know, the way people view you is different, so you're challenging almost so many things all at once. And it's not even challenges that you can prepare for, it's challenges that you have to think on your feet. So that in itself is a huge journey, and I think having us, it wasn't so much so us pushing it, it's us kind of like, from what our parents have kind of passed on to us and kind of seeing that firsthand, we want to push us. So that's where I see that. And obviously our parents, they haven't just stopped here, they're kind of still motivating us, they're still like, my parents are supporting me, I'm very lucky. So it's kind of almost, it's not even them seeing like me as a person kind of, yeah, I am kind of succeeding and stuff, but almost they kind of are pushing not just me as an individual, but them in a way, you know, being Bangladeshi, like the culture, like, you know, just everything all rounded. I just think it's not just the end here, it's what our parents have passed to us, and we're just going forward with it. So yeah.
Sometimes I think about this because obviously having lived abroad, I've had like such good experiences and like, you know, been able to have that experience of living somewhere else, but I think that's made me want to stay in Birmingham more. Like I like that feeling of home and comfort, and even like my decision for where to go to uni was based on the fact that I wanted to be closer to home, so I chose Birmingham because I thought I can pop home whenever I want, and it's a familiar city. And so when I look at myself in the future, I think, like, I sort of fantasize about, you know, moving to Australia for a year, or like moving elsewhere in the country, like maybe somewhere more naturey, like by the coast. But then I always come back to the fact that Birmingham's so diverse and I feel comfortable here. Because, you know, when we've been as a family, if we've been anywhere more rural or like, you know, coastal towns, they are majority white, like, to put it plainly, like, you're the minority, and I feel it as a South Asian. Like, I definitely feel it, like when me and my family walk into a restaurant and we're the only brown people in there, I feel it. And I know, like, I always say it to my mum and she tries to tell me to like not notice it, or she's like, just ignore it. But I'm like, why should I ignore it? Because it's so blaringly obvious. And I think other people know, I think white people notice it. Like, I feel it could be all in my head, it could not be, but I feel when I walk into a room and I'm the only brown person, I feel like all eyes on me. So I would want to definitely stay somewhere like Birmingham, where there's a, you know, there's a high South Asian population, and there's places that you can go to where it's diverse and you don't feel like you're the only one. But yeah, I definitely think home is made by the people there, because I guess there's that whole thing of home being a feeling, or is it a material structure like a house, or is it a country, or is it, you know, I think it changes for everyone. But for me, I do think home is where family is, and I do feel sad sometimes that we missed out on a lot of family interactions, I guess, like we, you know, parties and birthdays and weddings, and you miss all of that, and then when you come back you feel so detached, and that feeling of home isn't quite there because you've missed out on so much, I guess. But yeah, I think home's definitely determined by the people around you.